welcome to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him at gods5minutes@gmail.com. Now, here's Ed Wilson with God's 5 Minutes.
Hello, friends. The 14th chapter of his Gospel, Mark tells us in his description of the Last Supper, Jesus sendeth forth two of his disciples, and saith unto them, Go ye into the city, and there shall meet you a man bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him. And whithersoever he shall go in, say ye to the goodman of the house, The Master saith, Where is the guest chamber where I shall eat the Passover with my disciples? And he will show you a large upper room, furnished and prepared. There make ready. Mark's narrative leaves unanswered the question of whether he is describing a supernatural event or the carrying out of a prearranged plan. Perhaps we are left with that uncertainty because in the end it doesn't matter. Either way is a demonstration of Christ's will, which is always divine. But if we think of it as arrangements Jesus made before the event, we gain something, for we see in it wisdom and human skill in using available means to fit it in, which is an example for us. In any case, the remarkable thing about this story is the careful preparations the Lord took to keep the location of the Last Supper secret. The little party was in Bethany. The disciples asked the logical question, Why are we to eat the Passover? The easy and obvious answer would have been to name the man in his house. But instead, the Lord used a roundabout method that prevented his followers from knowing the location until they were actually there. The two messengers went away and probably did not come back. But in the evening, Jesus and the 10 go straight to the house only he knew. Why? Well, this baffled the traitor who was looking for opportunity to lead Jesus' enemies to him. But is that all? Jesus told us he had great desire to have this final supper undisturbed with his apostles. These remaining peaceful moments of his life were to be used to set up the new rites of his kingdom and to link the paschal sacrifice to his death. We find in him no shrinking from the soldiers' whips or cavalry's cruel nails. When the time was come, he bravely embraced it all. What we see then is him choosing the manner in which he would be betrayed, taken, and slain. Judas, the chief priest, Pilate, and the soldiers were swept by a power they did not know to deeds which they could not understand. The Lord of all gave himself up in royal freedom to a death to which he was forced only by his love. The Greek Mark used in this narrative shows Jesus expressing a strong right of ownership to this particular room. Here, as in all his life, we find the remarkable blending, as in all his earthly life, of poverty and dignity, the lowliness of having to ask someone for a room, the royal imperative, the Master saith. Part of the beauty of the Christian's life is that he puts himself in the position of needing things from us, balanced with the absolute authority he claims over us and ours. And what of this man who owned the secret room? He must go down in history as one of the secret disciples. If his building was the same upper room as was used by the 120 on the day of Pentecost, as is most likely, his building far exceeded him in recognition, he whose name the evangelist did not even bother to give us. It is useless to try to serve the humble Christ for the hope of prominence and position. He surely has many a hidden one whose faith he recognizes, to whom he, at his discretion, gives works to do. Most likely this unknown believer did not attend the final supper. Probably his work was to surrender his best quarters and inconvenience himself on this highest Jewish holy day, and then to clean everything when the apostles' use of it was over. No matter, it is enough that the name the evangelist never recorded is known to Christ. It's graven in the palms of his hand. The true blessing is to be ready for anything for which the Master calls. At any time he may call for it, even though that call be sudden and unexpected. Have you talked to God today?
You have been listening to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him by email at godsfiveminutes@gmail.com. Tune in next time to hear more encouraging thoughts from God's Word on God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson.